From a pure processing perspective, this is 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One X. We're leveraging high bandwidth GDDR6 to ensure that we're getting the best performance possible. We're seeing more than 40 times performance increases over the current generation.
Now we can take all of that power and apply it back into the scene, so we can actually generate more life in that world and bring it to the gamer in a seamless way.
We're delivering 4 generations of content better than you've ever seen them before.
Look, it's freezing again. It's crashing. Here we go. I'm recording it. There we go. There it crashed.
It just shut down. You see that? Xbox turned itself off.
Damn it.
I am so fucking fed up with this garbage ass fucking console. I fucking hate it so goddamn much.
Why the fuck do you still have a battery slot?
I'm gonna end up selling my Xbox Series X.
Xbox held a game showcase for some of their upcoming projects, and I gotta be honest, man, I was sleep.
It's over 1,000 worlds.
The gunplay looks horrendous.
To the people who have to say that the combat looks bad in this game, you're an idiot.
This was the best I could do for a setup. I'm not even gonna try to improve it. So, as somebody who owns all 3 consoles this generation, yeah, I can safely confirm Xbox is in dead last right now. Their games suck, their hardware sucks, the future for them seems like it's not gonna be much better, so yeah. What a huge fucking dumpster fire.
This is bullshit.
So, what can we start with? Alright, let's just start with the controllers then. This is a Series X controller. This is an Xbox One controller. They're not the same fucking controller, I swear. The only advantage this controller has over this one is that this one has texturing on the grips that make them more comfortable to hold. And that's literally all it is. The button layouts are the same. The joysticks are still noisy as shit. The bumpers still feel misplaced. Because if you look right there, you can kind of see that the bumpers curve out like that, and they don't line up as well with the triggers when you push them down. And this controller has the same issue. And that's literally it. This controller is like if your ex came back after a 5-day breakup, and she came back with a nicer ass to hold, and that's it. She's still your fucking ex. She's still ugly. Xbox, no. Now for some further context, here is a Switch Pro controller. The bumpers on this are way more in line with the triggers. See how they slightly go out like this, but then follow the bumpers? It just feels better to press them down this way. It actually feels like you're pressing something instead of, oh, here's a weird awkward thing. They gotta keep the tip of your finger at the end of it in order to press it properly. It feels bad on these other controllers. Not to mention, this controller actually has gyro aiming, NFC, and all this other fancy shit, and this controller, which is newer, doesn't even do gyro. So I just have to ask, why on earth does this controller not have any damn gyro whatsoever built into it when Xbox has all these first-person shooter games? It makes no damn sense. And believe me, the problems don't stop there with the controllers when it comes to the hardware. The clips that you watched at the beginning of this video were not my own clips, but I can confirm that my Series X, even though it's only like half a year old, has crashed on me 5 times in that same way. World's most powerful console, my dick.
9 times.
Sometimes it feels like my Switch even runs better than that, because at least that's actually properly optimized. Let alone my PS5 runs better. That never ever like slows down on me. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's talk about the biggest problem, which is Xbox
Game Pass.
Game Pass.
Game Pass. Game Pass.
Game Pass.
Xbox is about to become the next water cooler.
So a lot of people like to try to defend Xbox Game Pass by saying it's the best deal in all of gaming, but is it really though? Game Pass Ultimate, for context, costs $17 a month, which is the equivalent of like 3 to 4 AAA games. Maybe more depending on the kind of game you actually buy. But how many people actually finish those games? Not many. I have tried out 4 of these games on my Series X through Game Pass. Alright? I tried Halo Infinite, I tried Hi-Fi Rush, I tried Forza 5, and I tried Starfield. So like 4 big exclusive hitters for the system, okay? So how were they? Well, Starfield is a piece of shit.
Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
I don't even hear many people talk about this game anymore because it feels like such a nothing game. When you go to Constellation or whatever the group is called and you try to start the first mission or whatever, and you want to explore around now that you've found them, it just blocks you off from traveling to pretty much any planet outside of the one planet that you have to go to for the main story. And they advertise this game like you could travel to any planet you wanted to and find whatever you wanted to. But even when you are exploring that planet and whatnot, you're not going to really discover anything. You're just going to find some different beasts and enemies and stuff to fight, but nothing within the planet itself other than that, because it's a fucking barren planet.
Many planets that are barren.
The game is also capped at 30 on the consoles, which that should be self-explanatory why that's a problem. It's a first-person shooter. And maybe this is just me taking the do what you want to do thing way too literally, but whenever you're bored and just on like City of Atlantis or whatever the hell the city is called where you find Constellation, and you're just like, you know what, I just want to play this like GTA and kill some people. Everybody tries to kill you once you kill them, but then you can never reset the game back, so you basically just soft lock yourself unless you go to a different load file previously from when you killed that person, which might be an hour plus back. I don't even think I put 5 hours into that piece of shit. I uninstalled it immediately, and then I turned to Halo Infinite for a shooter. That game is about as mid as something can get. The gameplay is ridiculously repetitive, and all the immersion that could have been in the game just... It took me less than 20 minutes to get out of the intro stuff in that game, and I skipped every cutscene too, because the amount of fucks that I could give about what's going on in that game are lower than your GPA.
Whoa! That's interesting, but I sure don't care.
Eventually I put the game down when I realized it was just the same shit over and over and over again. It's not a bad game, it's just not a super engaging game. It didn't hold my interest because it had no immersion and no purpose behind it, so bye-bye to that game. Forza, on the other hand, is just some comfort food for the sake of having comfort food. It's basically just, oh, go do this race, oh, go explore around over here, and the entire damn time you're driving. Think of it like GTA, except there are no cops and you can never get out of your damn car. That was probably the game that I played the longest out of those 4, and even then, I'm still debating whether or not I even go back to it, so...
Well, that was a load of shit.
And then there's a little game called Hi-Fi Rush, which my friend recommended to me since it was his game of the year. He thought it was... Yeah! You know what I think about it? No! It's basically a hack and slash game, but with a rhythm gimmick, and the rhythm gimmick fucks up the gameplay. So you basically have to swing your guitar, which is your sword, to the beat of whatever background music is playing. Ding, ding, ding. So if you're stuck in a swarm of enemies and you can't really get out, you can't just jump and get out at all, because even that has to do with the rhythm. I feel like the game would have been a lot better if they had just focused the rhythm on certain stages and stuff like that, and then just made the rest of it an actual hack and slash, because then I would actually want to keep playing it. I got through the first boss, which was decent enough, and then I got through the second boss, which was a piece of shit. And I have no desire to go back to it after those first 2 bosses. I jumped around between these games too, because Game Pass just gives you quote-unquote too many options, I guess, and you just jump from one game to another. You can't focus on anything, which is already a problem for games that are not very immersive, and the quick resume feature doesn't help. And speaking of that shit, that doesn't even work all the time. Sometimes when you go into a game, especially if it's the first time you're quick resuming it, it just freezes your game altogether instead of quick resuming it, so you have to back out of the damn thing, and then go back in manually, losing all that progress that you made. And that's the other thing about Game Pass. All those games that are on there, you don't own them, and they're not really high quality when they advertise that they're high quality whatsoever. They're all just old games or half-baked games. So why would I even care to play all that stuff on there if there are no big good exclusives on this damn console? Yet, at least. And that brings us to talking about the future lineup for this console. I gotta be honest, because of this quote-unquote Game Pass model that they have going on right here, and that quality therefore doesn't matter, I don't really have faith that a lot of these games are going to be all that good. Hellblade in particular is a pretty niche series, so I don't see Hellblade 2 taking off and being that big game that brings everybody back or anything like that. And same with all the other games, which are just new IPs that probably are going to fall in the same boat as Starfield, where people will try them once and then never pick them up again because they suck. So if I just play those couple games and they all suck, and even if they don't suck, if it's just a couple games like that, like just Avowed, Hellblade, Towerborn, and is that it? Is that pretty much all they've announced that's coming out next year? Then no. I would argue Game Pass is not really worth it, because I could just buy all those. I could just buy 3 or 4 games outright for pretty much the same amount of price per year, and those games are actually better. I've recently been kicking some ass on Spider-Man 2, and that's a great game. Final Fantasy 16 was a masterpiece. Metroid Prime Remaster was amazing. Mario Wonder was amazing. Is there any game on Xbox that I think was amazing? No. Every game I just kind of played it like this. The whole time, I was just so bored. So in conclusion, what exactly does Xbox have? That's kind of the question that I asked myself when going into this console, and I wanted to find out. And like 4 or 5 months later, I still haven't found an answer to that question. They have Bethesda, which is a shit studio. I didn't even fucking like Skyrim. They have Game Pass, which is not as good of a value. Their hardware sucks compared to their competition. They're not very innovative. They're not pushing the exclusives that far. So what do they got going for them? Seriously, if you make shit games and the only incentive for you to play those games is because people can
play it day one with Xbox Game Pass,
then there's no point to it. That's not what a console that should be competing should strive for. You lost!
You blew it.
In my opinion, your money is better spent on any other system out there on the market. Or at the very least, just get the Xbox Series S since it's so much cheaper than the X. And as a matter of fact, even the X is getting cheaper now. It's like $350, and still nobody's buying it because why would they? The only reason I can actually think of owning this system is the backwards compatibility feature of playing older games. If you want a convenient way to play older games in the best way possible, then fine, go with this system. And I've been playing some older games on it as well from the 360. But other than that, I don't think the future is looking very bright for this system, but we'll have to wait and see.
The lineup we have for you today is
just incredible.
We will build games that review in the 60s. I mean, it's just kind of part of being in game publishing.
Like, how was PlayStation better?
Great game!
It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way.
What the fuck?